of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Brenda, would you please do the roll call? You can share a microphone with me if you want.
All right, sorry about that. President Gosa,
Here.
Vice President Klein Jerome,
Here.
Director Barnes,
Here.
Director Hayes,
Here.
Director Postian,
Here.
Director Beck is absent, and Director Potts is absent.
Thank you, Brenda. Director Hayes, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Yes, I'll be happy to. The mission statement: the Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Hayes. Director Klein-Jerome, would you please read the guiding principles?
Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, Director Klein-Jerome. Superintendent Schneckhoff, would you please read the goals?
Today, we're going to focus on goal number 4 to foster the innovative use of finances, facilities, and staff.
Thank you. Before we move on, I want to note for the record that Director Beck is here. We have no public hearings tonight. Student board reports. There's a whole bunch of those.
Okay, is this on? All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Driscoll. I'm sorry I haven't been able to attend the past few meetings, but I've been super busy with show choir and practice for the musical that just ended, but I'm glad to be here tonight. I do have show choir after the student board report, so I'll have to leave after that, unfortunately. But for the central student report, we have our musical Ride the Cyclone that just finished up last weekend. It was a huge success. All the shows went really well. We had a great turnout, and I was really proud of our hard work and the performances that we put on. We have a campus cleanup going on Wednesday after school, student athlete tutoring during guided studies. Our marching band played in the Veterans Day Parade alongside bands from other schools. And then from our feeder schools, we have McKinley. 5th grade students attended BizTown, while K through 4th hosted 18 volunteers who led junior achievement lessons throughout the school day. And then from Jefferson, we have degenerated about 45% fewer behavior incidents per day per student this year. Garfield, we have the students are making miniature parade floats to use to host their very own holiday parade through the halls on Tuesday. And then lastly, from Eisenhower Elementary, we have they hosted Donuts with Grown-Ups this Monday and have tutoring each Monday and Wednesday. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll. We will move on to recognitions. I will turn it over to Superintendent Schneckhoff.
Thank you. I'm incredibly honored tonight to recognize one of our staff members. We have Melissa Trimble with us tonight. She's been in front of this board many times, reporting data, sharing projects, doing building tours, all kinds of things. But tonight we're here to celebrate her for an outstanding award that she's won. She has been recognized as the sole recipient of the outstanding project Lead the Way, the PLTW, as you may have heard it, Administrator of the Year in the state of Iowa. And so that's an incredible, distinguishing honor, and we're so proud to have you a part of our staff. So if you wouldn't mind, would you please come up to the podium and just kind of talk about what goes into being the project Lead the Way? There's a microphone right there. What it means to go to lead that inside of our district and what it means for our students.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the recognition. It's nice when hard work is able to be recognized every once in a while. And this is definitely an honor that I don't take lightly. Project Lead the Way is our curriculum that we use for elementary science. We use Launch, and then it bleeds into the junior high world, which is Gateway to Technology. And then we have our pathways in the high school of computer science, biomedical, engineering, and then engineering as kind of a flat out. So what I control is just the launch program. So the K-5 is my world, and we have aligned it with the science standards so that students are engaged with this problem-based learning from kindergarten, and then they can bleed that all the way through their career as they need to. What does it involve? Staying up to date with all of the things, making sure all of our K-5 teachers are trained and get updates with their training as needed, as well as managing all of the stuff that goes along with needing to be able to do hands-on learning. So it is definitely something that is a bucket filler for me. It's a joy experience, especially when I get out into the classrooms and see the students engaging in this such amazing learning. So it is an honor to be able to be honored, but it is an even bigger honor that I am able to sustain this program within the Davenport schools for our kids.
All right. We will now move on to presentations. I will turn it back over to the superintendent again.
Well, tonight is a very exciting night as we go to vote on one of the first steps in the first phase. And tonight, John Mahan's going to talk with us about two other steps. So tonight we're going to get the first public sneak peek at the proposed, what Davenport North is going to look like. And then we wanted to kind of preview a video that's going out to our community in regards to SMART. So without further ado, John, thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing this exciting information.
Thanks for having me. I apologize. I had a cold late last week and lost my voice, so I'll try to keep the microphone close and talk soft. So Davenport North is starting to get really exciting. Back when we first scoped out the project, we had thought we were doing a little bit different approach, but with the discussions that happened with the adjacent facility at the YMCA, it really got us thinking about how to better utilize the changes to that campus. We knew that there was a benefit to having that space programmatically, it solves a problem spatially for the district, but it creates a second problem in that it's very disconnected from the rest of the building. So what you're going to see is how we solve that problem, and then in addition, how we change the face of what North High School looks like. So I think it's quite exciting. So
John,
yeah.
I think it's also important for us to note that off of one of our previous learning and informal sessions with the school board, we made adjustments to this plan based on
Yes.
the feedback that we had. Do we need to renovate the internal space? Do we need to maximize the internal space before adding on additional classroom space, so that this also incorporates that feedback that the school board and community gave earlier on this year?
Absolutely. And then what you'll find is the renovations will set the tone as to how the future of North could change internally. Just real quick, this is like a really simplified way of how we look at the schedule. We're in this little middle green dot that's called design development. So schematic designs, where we're doing concepts and early plan considerations, design developments where we refine and revise. After next week, we will move into construction documents, and that's where we build all the details and the technical information that will go into the bid documents for the project. In the design development phase, we have been engaging staff. That will ramp up as we move into the construction document phase, so we get a lot of staff input. And we solve a lot of the details of how this is going to come out. But this project will hit the streets in April with bidding in May. So the site plan, if I can get this thing to stop. Over here on the right side is the new turf field. And we show the modified driveway location. So if you've driven up that way, you'll notice that that drive has a little bit of an S-curve to it, which gives us room for the turf field. Once you get up close to the entrance to the YMCA, you'll see that we bring a new driveway up and around the northern part of the parking lot. And what's in red is all new addition. So a new addition will span from the northeast corner of the education wing across the front of the Performing Arts Center. You'll hear me refer to that as PAC, and it'll stretch all the way over to the YMCA building. That driveway drop-off is to facilitate a new main entrance right in the crux of that bend in the building. We don't really disrupt much parking, just a little bit with the drive lane here, so we'll replace some of that parking to the south of the lot. The other big notable is that we are going to continue a drive around the northern portion of the building. Currently, it stops right behind the Performing Arts Center, and it stops to the east.
Hello,
of the
DCSD.
Oh, okay. Sounded like you. So that driveway will continue around. That's to facilitate delivery traffic, fire access around the building. And then also one of the things that the board discussed was, could we have a better way to get attendees to the sporting events to the back of the building? This would allow a nice walking path to get around the building on the east side for attending softball and baseball games. So if we turn that into a floor plan, I'm going to minimize this just slightly. What's in red is new addition. What's in greenish blue is renovation. And then what's in a tan color is other changes that don't really require construction. Those are moves to incorporate just the reutilization of space. So what we're looking at is the YMCA portions on the right, the Performing Arts Center in the center. We're going to add on a new addition that spans across the front of the building. At the very Center is a new main entry, secure entrance vestibule that takes you right into a common space. To the right side is a new cafeteria. And then at the center of that cafeteria is a secondary entrance, which would support access to activities that happen in the Performing Arts Center. To the south of that main entry vestibule is a new office that has all the administrative functions, nurse, security, attendance, and then this addition up in the courtyard is for counselors. To serve the cafeteria, we're adding a new kitchen and servery. And then back in the back of the building, to facilitate that, we'll set up a delivery, receiving, shipping area. So that allows for easy transportation of garbage out and supplies in. Because we're extending across the front of the building, we're sort of cutting off access to where the current cafeteria and kitchen are. We're moving that cafeteria and kitchen. Excuse me. So we're going to repurpose that existing space. Excuse me. Cafeteria and kitchen will become the new science rooms for the building. Try not to cough. I got some. The cafeteria kitchen will become the new science rooms for the building. And then down where the current main office and science rooms are, we'll repurpose that area for new classrooms and breakout space and collaboration areas. We'll zoom into each of these in a little bit so you can see what all of them means. But one of the benefits of putting a cafeteria and commons across the front of the building is the current performing arts lobby is a little bit on the small size. And so this expands that so you have plenty of capacity for crowds when you're in an intermission, before an event, or after an event. When people tend to linger, there'll be a nice amount of space. Also, by using that lobby space, it controls, we don't have to build the cafeteria larger because we can incorporate some of that space. If I zoom into this, the red does not designate a separate room. This is all one room. There's glass on the current front of the auditorium lobby. That glass will go away and it will become one room. We're working on interior concepts now, so the next time we talk, I'll be able to show you some exciting pictures of the inside. But right now, this is one large cafeteria that seats 450 students. That actually improves on the dining experience, meaning they can handle more students across fewer lunches in the building. The secure entrance is down here at the corner. That will have an entry direct into the office. It also feeds into a common space. Once you walk into the building, you'll have a choice to move towards the YMCA side, move into the education wing, or move your way up to where CTE and arts are. If we were to turn and go into the new office area, you'll have a new main office, reception, secretaries area. Then we have our administrative offices, and then down in the corner, administrative conference room. Adjacent to that main office, we have our security office and our attendance office. One of the benefits of these three positions is that they all will have visibility out into the commons area. So your security, attendance, and main office staff will have visual control over the common space, which was important to the North High staff. Also, right close to the front door is our health office. So when we have sick kids that need to head out, or we have any professional or parent coming in, they don't have to traipse across the building. That health office is right there close to the front door. Then we have some additional support space for our administration and work staff. This is currently a courtyard that stretches up alongside the building. If you've never kind of walked around the corner of the north end of the building, it stretches back quite a ways. We're using that space as an opportunity to build basically a wing for our counselors. So you'll have a counseling suite, and then we're going to preserve a little bit of outdoor space as a secure light court. That light court could be set up with some tables and chairs, so you have the opportunity for some students to go out there for dining or to enjoy some sunshine. There'll be a nice amount of glass along that common space so we get some natural light flooding in. So that existing cafeteria and kitchen will be repurposed into science rooms. It works out very well that you can get a suite of science rooms surrounding a central prep space. So that's your science prep and storage. Each of the classrooms will have access into that, so that's very consolidated. Currently, the layout is a little bit odd, and those spaces aren't as productive for the staff. These science rooms are approximately 30 to 40% bigger than the current science rooms, so they are expanding the space to an appropriate size for the science curriculum, which they are struggling with currently. As we move down to the current office and science wing, we're going to change that entirely. By moving the office area and moving those science classrooms out, we can reorganize the building in a different way. We can also make use of the current main entrance. Because we're not going to treat that as a main entrance, we're going to eliminate one set of doors on the west side. We'll keep the entry vestibule on the east side, which will allow as a secondary access to get in and out of the building at the beginning and end of the day. But in general, what we're going to do is create a suite of classrooms. We're actually putting 2 science classrooms or science-ready classrooms in this area that allow for some distributed curriculum. This also incorporates some large group and small group instructional spaces. So those are the spaces that sometimes when students have special instruction or they have some other supports, they have a spot to go that they're not going to be forced to have to traipse across the building or do that in a hallway. We have a spot where we can break them out within the academic wing. And then some small collaboration areas. This is something that Willie and Jay have been talking about, working collaboration into the professional development for staff in this building so that they can make use of co-teaching and collaboration between staff, collaboration between classes, subjects, and students. So this allows them the flexibility to start incorporating some changes into how that curriculum starts to look in this building. These classrooms as well are larger than the current classrooms. Again, you'll see on here science classrooms 20 to 30% larger. Our classrooms themselves are, I believe, somewhere in the 20% larger range. So you're getting more classroom space out of each classroom, but because of the change to this whole area, we're gaining, I'd have to count them on the screen, but I think 12 or 13 new classrooms in this building without having to add classroom as a wing to the building. So if we go back to the site plan or the overall floor plan, we still have plenty of opportunity in our site if we need to move a media center out or add additional classrooms. We have a relief valve that we can grow the building. However, right now this solves a problem. We looked at the current enrollment and the current capacity of the building and worked some backwards math to understand how many classrooms we needed. This solves that problem by giving us the 10 classrooms, 1 flex classroom, and the 2 science just here. The net gain is an improvement on the building and solved that enrollment problem in the building. So, the exciting thing. If we're to hover over the new soccer field and look towards the Performing Arts Center, this new addition is going to stretch across the front and really put a new front door on the building. So you'll see this drive lane stretch around. That is your primary drive drop lane in front of the building. We've got some nice green space that we're preserving around the front of the building. New main entry, front door. There's a little raised planter bed with some signage. We'll zoom into that. Here's your secondary entrance, which leads into the performing arts and the kitchen, cafeteria common space. Administrative wing to the left. And then your existing building remains to the south, but we'll do a little bit of modification to that so that the aesthetic ties in with our new addition. So if we were to pull up in the drive, get up close to the front door, you'll see there's a entry canopy that takes you into the front door. The front entry has a little bit higher roof line. That's just to help with wayfinding, gives it some prominence. One of the problems I've always struggled with at North, when you drive into the campus, it's hard to know which door is the main door. This should help start to solve that problem by creating some sort of visual magnet that draws you in, especially since that intersection at 53rd is a signaled intersection that feels like the main drive. This is oriented in a way, as soon as you turn in, you're going to be looking at this, so that wayfinding becomes improved. Raised planter bed has a nice sign signaling that you're at Davenport North. The secondary entrance looks like an entrance, but it's not as prominent as the main. That way, we're not trying to draw people in there during the day. That'll be securitized during the day. However, for special events, we'll be able to open that up. Here's a little bit of a view up closer to the building. You'll see some planters out on the sidewalk, just thinking about this being an outdoor space and making sure we have enough barrier so that somebody can't barrel a car up close. So providing some protection while still softening the hardscape that's out there. And then a view straight in at that front door. These large windows on the right side, those look into the new cafeteria space. We've done some sun modeling, and what that affords us is that is going to be a naturally daylit space. We'll have electronic lighting, but that daylight coming in from the high windows will actually penetrate all the way into the performing arts lobby, so we get a lot of natural light flooding that space. Should reduce some of the electrical lighting load, but it will just provide a nice, warm, inviting space there, which is a benefit. The windows that you see have a pattern that actually links in very nicely with the YMCA portion of the campus. One thing that you'll notice is we're not incorporating a lot of blue into the architecture. We're going to do that through some opportunities of signage into the glass, signage on signs. That'll help us transition that this feels like a high school moving towards collegiate feeling campus, which was important for the Davenport North team as they do a lot of college prep in this building, and they wanted something that felt elevated and a little bit more prestigious from a collegiate feel. This is looking back towards that cafeteria commons, and then you can see we're bringing that addition up along the side of the YMCA piece, which allows us a corridor tie into that portion of the building. And then that's a look downward from the sky, so you're in your drone looking back at that drive lane. If we were going back to the ground and look at the existing building, a consideration that we're looking at is to punch a few more windows into the east wall of the building. That's a corridor along there. Gives us an opportunity to produce a little bit more natural light into the building and also, again, tie in some of the architecture. There's an old stone concrete panel along the top of the building. We're going to reclad that with some of the same metal that's on the new addition. We'll continue around the south side of the building. That will help unify the whole campus so that it starts to feel like the same building. As well, we've located the brick for this addition, which is a match to the existing brick, which also was utilized on the Performing Arts Center and YMCA buildings. So when you put new brick on this, it will all blend. So again, it feels like a unified campus. And then there's a shot from the south of the building, just looking back. You still see the performing arts jumping up over the building. This still provides some nice front facade. We don't feel that blue roof deters from anything, and that still functionally serves a purpose for that auditorium space. there's several phases to get this done. The first piece is we have to go in. It's only going to take about a month. We'll rework this portion of the building so that we can create a shipping receiving area. There's already receiving that happens in this location, so it becomes an easy change. But what that sets us up is that when we start building the new addition, we can manage deliveries into the current kitchen and cafeteria space. So that will help us with still providing food service in the existing building. We will work on the new addition. Our schedule shows that taking about 14 months. We're hoping we can improve on that. One thing that we're going to do, and we'll be talking to you shortly, is we'll accelerate a portion of the bidding process to seek out a cost for footings and foundations as an early bid package. That would help us potentially accelerate the build timeline of this addition. That is critical so that we can be as least disruptive to food service as possible for a school year. So we're thinking that will help us get the assurance that the addition's done in time, that we can start another school year in the new addition. Once that addition is done, then we can go back and gut out and change that old cafeteria, turn that into the science rooms. That's likely a 6-month-ish time frame. And then once you have new science rooms, you can abandon the old, occupy those rooms, and take on the addition, or the renovation of the science and main office area to turn that into classrooms. So that is also a 7-month build process. So this is a very long timeline. Every phase that can be improved on in terms of a construction time frame will improve the overall duration, but it's a logical sequence. By solving it one step at a time, it allows you to basically not disrupt the education in the school building while you're doing the construction. And then that's your final plan again. I kept my voice for that one. I can't assure that I can keep it for questions, but questions?
Director Kleindrum?
The classrooms that are not going to be renovated or updated, what about those crummy folding walls? Oh, was that blunt?
Yeah. So one opportunity we may have is if the bids on our other projects are favorable, we can consider expanding scope to change those walls. So if we have bids on SMART and even on this project that are lower than our budgets, we can reinvest those dollars to make more improvements in this building, if that's the board's direction of choosing.
Right now, our goal is to set aside as much as we possibly can as we move through these phases to ensure that happens, that it needs to be renovated.
It does.
It does.
Yep. Thank you.
And that's the goal. And John has a secondary plan to ensure that does. So any dollars that we save that we can put towards this, that's one of our goals, to do that.
John, with those classrooms, do you have any idea approximately how many of them would be included with those walls?
Takes a minute to get the mic on. So we would need to do a deeper assessment of how many rooms are in the building that currently have, those are called demountable partitions. We need to get a good assessment of how many exist in that condition. And then basically what we want to do is come up with a per classroom budget so that we know for any amount that we improve in our overall save budget, we know how many classrooms that we can attack at that point.
Anybody else? Director Beck.
One question I had was about the exterior space. You guys are going to provide better access to the baseball, softball field area, but I know on the other side to get to like the track and some of the practice fields, it's gravelly and there's not easy access for people to walk down to the track. Are you guys going to include that as well, or is that a totally different project? It's not super well organized, the way you get down there.
Yeah, so I know that's a consideration that was discussed by the board. It's not currently built into the project, mostly because of economy. The pieces that we are doing to get around the back complete a drive loop that currently doesn't exist, and it's more direct pathway for getting to the softball and baseball. There's always an opportunity to look at improving that. I think it would be a question of what does the board as a group want to attack with any available budget.
Any other questions? I have one, surprisingly. As we're going in and doing stuff here, so, I mean, we're going to be doing some stuff by the Performing Arts Center. Is there an opportunity, like I know like their lighting system and stuff's kind of out of date there, and that would be a cost savings in the energy efficiency aspect. Are we looking at some of those things when we're going in and doing these? Or is that a you question?
I think what we're looking at here does not creep into the rest of the building. It establishes everything that is there. It sounds like to me that there are a wish list of things that the board would like to see added to the renovation of the classrooms, the addition of the lights, upgrades to the parking and going around. And I think, John, we could add that to our meetings that we're having at the building level. We could also seek that input from our school board members and really start to put together a decent list of like, hey, here's some things that if we did have extra dollars to put towards North, which one would the building and community prioritize? I think that's a good strategy to look at.
So the reason I bring that up, because I always bring this up, I think it is so stupid when we do things at buildings and then we come back later on and we're bringing more equipment. It costs us more money in the long run. Whereas if we knew, obviously, if it's a lighting thing, they're going to be running electrical and stuff in there. Is it going to be cost effective to maybe go knock out some of those things when we already have people there doing it versus they have to rent equipment again? We have to pay for all that when it would already be there. And I know I asked this a lot and I realize we only have so much money, but sometimes it's redundant to pay for things twice, essentially. So
yes, that makes sense. Theater is one thing that sort of skews the answer. The labor part of that makes sense. However, auditorium theater lighting is a different beast, and so you do not get the benefit of economy of scale as if you were incorporating lighting or power for other portions of the building. And it's because it's a specialty system. So your biggest benefit is you probably save on the mobilization and labor that's already there. So I think TJ's general approach of prioritize or get a list of wishes, wants, and then create a order of magnitude based on desire and priority. We could start to cost out what some of those things are, and then see how that influences the decision of what to do. I think what you're going to find is whether it be attacking classrooms or theater lighting, if you're doing it when this project happens, you're going to benefit from that economy of the talent is on the job at that time.
Okay. So just to add to that, are you able to, when you put together pricing, you could figure that out, what it would be if we did it at this point in time, or if we waited and then came back and did, so that way it's easier for the board to look at that stuff, financially and see what things
Yeah,
are
well,
cost effective.
we could try to take a stab at that for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to board reports. Oh, what?
Smart. We have
Smart.
Oh yeah, it wasn't this
Sarah's
one.
team.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
My bad.
No, it's all right. Sarah's
move on to
team has
Smart.
put together a video, and we wanted to preview that video here, as it is, as we did at Sudlow. It's just kind of an exciting point of our long-range facility plan.
So
Yeah, that was
the thing to note about Smart is a week from Monday, that project will hit the streets for bidding. So bids will be received in December. I believe it's December 18th. The public has seen just what information has been shared in our presentations here, but this is a really great look that walks you through the building, both inside and out. So it's your opportunity to showcase the decision the board has made to reinvest in that smart campus, which is just wonderful.
Hello, DCSD, Superintendent TJ Schnecklau. I'm standing outside of Smart Middle School, where for the last 2 years, our administrators and Bray Architect have been putting together a plan for a brand new school. What you're about to see is a virtual tour. Hope you enjoy.
After combining the Smart Junior High and Monroe Elementary School plots of land, the new main entrance for FL Smart Middle School will be off of Cedar Street. The building provides a vibrant main entrance and welcoming canopy. Upon entering, the main staircase provides a gathering area with connections to the cafeterias. The large skylight above the staircase brings daylight down to the first floor. Both cafeterias utilize seating options and features sculptural ceiling details to reinforce the school ideology of taking flight together. The event entry opens to a tall space leading to the new competition gym and performance space. Here, there are display cases for athletic awards and student work with a gathering area for events. The competition gym provides basketball, volleyball, and racket courts with plenty of seating for spectators. The music suite has a dedicated choir, orchestra, and band room with storage for all essential equipment. The library boasts collaboration areas, flexible furniture, bookcases, and a bank of windows overlooking the main entrance. The FCS lab has 6 stations with a teaching wall that connects to a clean lab and dirty lab with a dedicated art room across the hall. Each grade level is divided into 2 houses where core classrooms are organized around a collaboration zone and support spaces. Every house has a specific color identity progressing from yellow to orange and then red, which illustrates the transition to high school. Located on 4th Street, the exterior of the core academic area will greet students each day. The classic brick is contrasted by colorful metal panel and is a reflection of the smart community.
On this, I totally forgot to ask something. Can I still? Project this dang microphone. At the North project, the light to go into the main entrance, is that something we'll have to talk to the city about the time? Because the timing sucks on it right now. You have to run that light sometimes. I've never done that. I've heard that from people, but
Yes, that is on our.
okay, perfect.
Yeah,
And then
for
is that video getting shared out?
Yep.
So our community partners will have that and stuff too.
Sarah has a cadence to put it up.
Get that in the hands of Bruce Gocher, and it will hit the West End like wildfire. Perfect. Okay, I forgot to ask about that, and I had it wrote down, and so perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to board reports. Are there any board reports?
See you in a minute, John.
All right, I just have a couple. We did our bi-monthly meeting with Mayor Mike Matson at Davenport. Last week, we got to meet and interact with the new city administrator and then discuss some of these projects that were going on and how we're going to collaborate on things. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask. And then I wanted to mention next week we have the IASB convention in Des Moines from November 20th through 21st. So I'm assuming I'll see you all there. And then we have the UEN dinner on Wednesday night next week. So Brenda made sure that I had a note to mention that so everybody knew. All right, are there any other board reports? Director Poston.
Not a report, but just a reminder about the ribbon cutting ceremony at West High School at 4:30, right?
Thank you. Any other board reports? All right, we'll move on to communications. Open forum. We do have 2 open forum requests for tonight. Brenda, do we have any online requests? For the record, she's shaking her head no. All right. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. You will be asked to state your name and home address prior to making remarks. To participate virtually, call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 985-6474-1848 and passcode 348082. As I stated, we have 2 open forum requests. We usually go for 2 minutes. Up first, we have Nick Flogel. Make sure you push on the button, a green light comes on right over there to the podium. And just a reminder for everybody for open forum, the board does not interact. That's not something we do, so.
Again, I'm Nick Flogel. I'm the business representative of Carpenters Local 4. I represent 850 carpenters for the Quad Cities and their respective families. In regards to the Sudlow School project, I'd like to note that Iowa law states that you must go with the lowest responsible bidder. And I'd like to shed some light on the situation at hand. Under Iowa law, it is permissible to choose a contractor other than the lowest if conditions present themselves, such as completion dates. I'd like to note a few recent Bruce Builders projects that have experienced significant delays. Scott County's website states the Youth Justice Center in Davenport was expected to be completed in 18 months and opened in spring of 24. The completion date was then pushed back to August, and the project is still now currently under construction to this day, totaling 7 months of delays and still counting. The North Scott Lancer Stadium experienced delays as well on getting occupancy in time for football season due to not applying for the appropriate permits through the state. A simple task that any beginner level superintendent or professional contractor would be sure to check before the project was started. As you also know, you have had equipment sitting idle on your very own athletic fields for what seems like an eternity. So I ask you, when is enough enough? In the interest of being responsible with taxpayers' money and also keeping in mind that this project needs to be completed on time, which is critical in order for students to be able to use the new facility. I feel it is the board's responsibility to reevaluate the recommendation from the architect, which is simply based off price. If students are unable to use the facility on time due to these delays, like many of the other Bruce Builder projects, an empty facility is not going to be able to facilitate students' growth. Is the lowest bid the responsible choice? Because you do have a choice. I've spoken with other construction teams that are interested in pursuing the project. They can provide reputable local subcontractors and can deliver the final product on time. Lastly, I'd recommend putting hard completion dates and/or liquidated damages on further projects in the future. Trying to bring forth this evidence for you tonight was very hard, as it seems other school boards, municipalities, and local governments have really dropped the ball on completion dates and allowed Bruce Builders an open-ended contract. They continue to move the goalposts on completion dates, and we're honestly not seeing this from any of the other general contractors in this area. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Flogel. Up next, we have. Oh, please give your name and address for the record.
Nick Flogel, 6623 West Kimberly Road, Davenport.
Thank you. Up next, we have Malinka Shirkande. Did I say that right? Huh? Malavika? Not even close? Malavika? Did I...
Do I get a green? Yes. Thank you so very much for having me this evening. My name is Malavika Shrikhande. My address is 10 Lombard Court, Davenport, Iowa. I'm a parent of Davenport Central alum, Maitri Shrikhande, who graduated in 2022. And I'm here today for two reasons. My daughter wanted to be here along with me, and we had planned to be here after she had completed her freshman year at college, but we just couldn't make it. And so today was the day I had to come. The first reason I'm here is on behalf of me, my family. I'm really here to thank all of you for giving the time that you do. The administration of Davenport School District, the principals, I just met Principal Flynn, and the teachers, the students, and the wonderful people who maintain our schools out here. That was our very first priority that we wanted to do after her year at college. The second one, and the most important one, I feel I wanted to share with you all, was my daughter was the recipient of the Dr. Thomas Dooley Scholarship in 2022. And she realized while she was prepping for the scholarship that as a school student, I mean, she had the ways and means to get her application ready, get things that are needed to be ready. But she realized while doing so that there might be students who might not have those kinds of facilities, or who may not have that kind of guidance, let us say, at home or elsewhere. So she did approach, after her year in college got completed, she did approach her school to say that she would like to mentor students, not just from Davenport Central, but from the Davenport Community School District. And it didn't go further for various reasons. And we felt that we should do something about it. We should get together. And she had proposed various means of making it happen. Oh, I'm so sorry. And she had proposed various means to the school, and the school, for these things to happen. She wanted to meet the counselors across the school district. So my request to you all and all the schools is please take up such students on the offers that they make, because that would have been something absolutely wonderful, is what we thought. And second, and my last request was, she had also come up with an idea, and I'm again speaking for her, I should not, but unfortunately she's not been able to come, a bit too busy at college. The second request she had was that we should not wait, like colleges do a wonderful job of having their alums mentor their students. And she wondered, why can't we do this? Because there are some absolutely fabulous students that have come out from Davenport School District which can do the job today as school or as college students. Not all, like my daughter, are local, but there are students who can come during their breaks or whenever they come down. We could have a get together and things like that. So there was a proposal that she had put. So that was my second request, that let us not ignore these youngsters who can really help our current students do things in an absolutely beautiful way. Thank you once again for giving me the time, and best wishes to you all. Oops, I need to.
Thank you. We always appreciate feedback from the community. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Director Klein.
I would just like to say that I will be abstaining on this because I have a family member who is on part of this consent agenda. So just so you know that.
Brenda, you got that? Perfect. All right, any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote from everybody but Director Klein Jerome. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Superintendent report.
I would just like to piggyback off of our meeting with the new city administrator and the mayor, that during that meeting, we brought up a concern and a gap that we currently have with our homeless students. Sarah joined us with that meeting. And the city had some funds that they were looking to reallocate. And part of the work that Shani Ford does in our district, she put together a need. We presented it in that meeting. And later that day, they went to council and discussed it and helped disperse some funds to help some of our students in need, particularly our families that find themselves in homeless situations where they're trying to bridge a gap. I think it was an excellent example of calibration and collaborative efforts, and I'm very proud of how our city responded. And it was just an excellent job of putting those needs together and then sharing that need, and our city responded. And so for that, I'm very grateful for the councilmen and women and the leadership at the city and our leaders getting together to close a gap.
Thank you. We will move on to committee reports. Breaking barriers? None at this time. Okay. Nothing for legislative advocacy. LZAC? Nothing. Long-range facilities planning, Bruce isn't here. We pretty much went over what everybody just saw. So, all right, policy committee.
Nothing.
Finance committee.
Our next meeting is December 5th.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 11.01 School Budget Review Committee request for special education deficit? Director Poston.
Move the board approve our request to the School Budget Review Committee for modified supplemental assistance for the fiscal year 2024 special education deficit in the amount of $7,251,539.42.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.02 addition and renovation to Sudlow Middle School?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
move the board award the Sudlow Middle School addition and renovation project to the lowest responsive bidder, Bill Bruce Builders, in the amount of $39,390,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, I have a couple questions or concerns. and some of them did get brought up during open forum. But these guys have been behind on a lot of jobs. So what do we have that we're going to hold them accountable is first. And I don't know if I direct that to you, Josh, whoever. Second, every one of the jobs that they've done for us, they do not have a full-time superintendent that is at that job every day. This is an entire school that we are building. Are they going to have someone there every day? And what checkpoints are going to be there to hold them accountable to timelines? I realize we can't put timelines in place because then you guys tell me it drives the cost up, but I think it just makes people more accountable. But so I've already hit you with 2. I'll let you go with those.
So for the first one, bonds come into play during a construction project, and then if they are not completing a project on time in a manner they should be, and they're failing a project, we can contact a bonding company. They can come in and potentially bring in another resource to finish the project and take them off the job if we don't feel like they're doing an adequate job. On your second question, the projects that are larger in scope, such as West, they had a superintendent there that was there all the time. He was there every day I was there.
Not every day I was there,
but he was also on other jobs a little bit. So I would suspect that on the job size of like this, they'll probably have more than one person there every day, as well as a job trailer.
Okay. Yeah, and some of their subs have me scared too, especially the electrical contractor. They do some pretty shoddy work, but and I'm assuming you're going to track this project with change orders and everything. I mean, everybody was pretty competitive. It was pretty close. The only other thing, so like the second one was Estes, and I know Estes works a lot with the Iowa. So I think they're like the prime contractor with Iowa Association of School Boards with like the energy audits and things like that. So I feel we might get a better project on that on the energy side of things, but I understand. I just don't think that the contractor, in my opinion, is responsible. But are you going to chime in? That's my personal opinion. That's my background. But I just haven't really seen nothing that impressed me on the things that we've had lately. Go ahead.
So 2 years ago, the board asked us to put together a dashboard, and so we can prove internally for our lowest responsible bidder. Everything that happens outside of our district, we don't know what the contracts were set for, but we did what the board directed us to do, is to review what has this contractor done for us. We have chosen, and all the presentations that we've had to the board, is that if we set the timeline, and from the timelines that we have, if we move the timelines up, put liquidated damages, that will increase the cost of the overall project. Now, it might be a savings on some other place, but it will be a higher cost in order to do that. So with this contractor, so far, the change orders are less than 1%. And I believe, I'm going to look to you, John, they have been responsive. So anytime that we have found an error or things that we don't like, they immediately respond. I think there was some concern earlier on one of our projects, and they responded. They were responsive. And the last component, I believe that the dates and timelines that we have set, they have met every one of those dates and timelines so far. So from our perspective, those are the data points in that dashboard that we've collected. And I understand how difficult this is, and we have consulted multiple legal firms to see what can we do to put in place. And they say, all of them say that we're doing exactly what we can do to utilize the taxpayer dollars the best. And I understand that those constraints are sometimes difficult for us. But we are the ones that are trying to follow those laws the best as possible and reach what the school district wants. And that's that notion of what is responsive and responsible. The second component is that we in our long-range facility meeting the other night, we discussed there will be a walkthrough cadence. We are bringing on an additional construction supervisor just for this 3-year project that's going to assist Joe in ensuring that here are the specs. Are we meeting those specs? We met with our architect and our engineer to say that we're going to have regular site walkthroughs to ensure that what those specs say, there's no corners being cut. And so for us to ensure that our contractors are being responsive and responsible with the vehicles that we have in front of us, that's what we think is our clearest path. The other component is this path was also the recommendation of our school board, because a construction manager would allow you to choose your individual subs, but we also understand the price cost that comes with that. So this is also the other pathway, that the direction that we've been given to move forward. And so we hear the concerns, but we also are trying to put in place the strategies to mitigate that risk, to ensure that we are responsive and responsible, because we do hear your concerns.
I just want to say thank you for educating yourself on that stuff. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, I'm working.
Even though I bust your chops sometimes. Director Poston.
Where are we at as far as hiring a construction manager?
So we made an offer to somebody this week. That's it. That's all I can tell you. We haven't.
I'll talk to you after the.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little off topic on that. That could be a memo.
I wouldn't say it's off the topic if we're talking about.
Right, but that's a position.
Not a firm.
All right, cool. I appreciate that. Director Barnes.
I hope that this isn't off topic, but I appreciate the potential mitigation or management of these projects, but that also comes at a cost to the school district. And when I see bids that are very close in cost, I think we also have to consider long-term the overall cost and investment we're making in managing these projects. And to President Gosa's point about a full-time superintendent for a project this big, it is not the board's job to say that we should demand a full-time superintendent, but we can certainly suggest that the administration have that expectation. I guess my concern is not a concern, an observation that Bruce seems to be the lowest bidder on almost every single project. And I've never seen that in the competitive bidding process in the Quad Cities. And I've worked with a lot of these larger contractors, and that seems a little bit unusual. And I would hate for the school district, as we're thinking about our obligation to taxpayers, which is not only a fiduciary obligation, but it's also a political, and there are all sorts of obligations there. I would hate to be beholden to a single contractor because they constantly are the lowest possible bidder, especially when we're increasing our costs in other ways.
Any other discussion? Okay. All right. Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say aye. I'm going to be a no. And when the change orders start rolling out, I told you. All right, we'll move on to the next. May I have a motion on subject 11.03, award of bid for Sudlow HVAC and controls? Director Beck.
I move the board award the Sudlow Middle School HVAC and Controls Project to Train US Inc. in the amount of $4,921,297.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Director Hayes. What? Oh. Is there any discussion? You have me messed up there.
Would you
All right,
guys like to
see-
tell me what this is? Would you guys like me to tell you what this is? Or are you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is a pre-purchase of HVAC equipment for the Sudlow project, so it shows up on time. Doing a pre-purchase like this also gives us a discount. We're purchasing it through a state contract.
I believe we talked about this like quite a few board meetings ago.
We probably did. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on it? Subject 11.04, award of bid for bus lot fuel tank project.
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board award the bus lot fuel tank project to the lowest responsive bidder, Seneca Companies, in the amount of $165,524.07.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Do you need to tell us anything on this one? Okay. All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.05, policy for board approval?
Mr. President, I move the board approve policy 503.09.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move on to discussion items. Subject 12.01, Leggett Architects for Fillmore Roofing Improvements. Turn it over to Superintendent.
As a part of our regular schedule long-range facility upgrades, we are looking at replacing one of our roofs. This is an ongoing project, and particularly as the way our insurance companies are structured, it's going to be even more important that we pay attention to our roofs. And looking at doing the entire roof, director goes, oh, while we have, president goes, no, we're not. Partial roof, Josh.
I know you guys liked us to do the entire roof at one time, but in this case, we have $1 million budgeted for roof replacements this year through PEPL, and the estimate for this project is around $950,000. So we're replacing all of the oldest sections in one building at one time to be as efficient as possible.
Man, that was the quickest discussion ever. Which parts of the? I know they got that new wing, so that's probably not included. It's probably the other parts, right? And then they got that second story or whatever.
I don't remember the exact locations of all of them. There's 4 different sections within the building. I believe the front entrance might actually be one of them, the more of the front area. But there's 4 areas in 1993. They're older, 30 years old.
It's wherever the buckets are when it rains.
Probably where the buckets are, yes.
I thought so. All right. Is there any further information board members would want to vote on this at the next regular meeting? All right. Next item for discussion is subject 12.02, long range facilities plan update, indoor hitting and practice facilities at Central, West, and North. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
Thank you. One of the things that comes to my mind as we're going to preview this is this board's commitment to delivering on promises. When you look at the beginning to renovate Davenport North from a middle school to a true high school, that is a 40, 50-year-old promise of this is actual high school. And we're beginning to see that happen where our science rooms are being converted into actual science rooms. There's a facelift to the building to where it doesn't look like a middle school. And so that's very exciting. Well, there's another generational promise that this is a potential solution for. When you grow up in Davenport schools, Brady Street Stadium belongs to the district. But the fact that Davenport Central doesn't have a place to practice, they don't have locker rooms, they don't have a home base, Because if they home base out of Brady Street Stadium, everyone says, well, that's their home. So they truly own it. And as a person who coached at Davenport Central, it feels very awkward when people say that. And so this is a potential solution for that, and a continuation on Director DeSalvo is the one that I remember, probably you as well, President Goza, where indoor facilities for our baseball, softball, and golf, and other usage during the day, can really enhance our competitive teams. An example of that, when the indoor facility was built at North, the current seniors at Davenport North were in the 8U baseball. Many of them chose to stay together because they had a place to hit. They won the MAC conference for the first time in 20 years this year. So those programs can impact. So what we're going to see today is John's going to briefly give us a discussion on a potential home base for Davenport Central and an indoor hitting facility at Davenport West. I want to also hit on that these projects are being funded out of our regular schedule of saved dollars, not our bonded saved dollars. And so this presentation has also been looked at the Finance Committee. It was recommended that it come here for an initial look, as we think would be a great next step. So with that being said, John, thanks for sticking around with us tonight, even though you have a cough, and I'll turn it over to you for a brief overlook here.
And when he says brief overlook, it's because I talked too much already. So. All right, so there are some considerations here. Each high school, just from parity, would want to have 2 indoor batting cages for indoor training for baseball, softball, golf. Some multi-use training space that would be turf for just movement training for athletics programs. And then just a general sense of school pride, which is represented through some of we call it environmental branding, environmental graphics. So bringing some of the logos and some of the sports imagery into those spaces. So currently North has a training building located to the north side of the campus. It's been there for a little bit. So just taking the opportunity while we're doing things at West and Central, do some updates to finishes, bring in some graphics and branding to that space so that it embraces the kind of the feeling of it being a high school training facility. At West, now that we have the auxiliary gym built and we've got the west portion of the YMCA gym, it frees up the upper mezzanine within the competition gym. Previously, that upper mezzanine had a wood floor, some basketball hoops, and was a secondary space for doing some basketball and indoor training, but it's not really set up for the other uses. And so it is an opportunity to consider adding turf. We can get 2 batting cages in there. There's currently 1 up there already. The basketball hoops were removed as part of the renovation of that space when we put new bleachers and paint and lighting in there. So this gives a really appropriate space for doing some of that indoor training and movement. That turf would then roll out of the way onto a hoist, lift up. The batting cages would raise up. You can extend the bleachers back. So when you have a big home game for volleyball or basketball, now you have full capacity of your seating. When it goes into training mode, we push the bleachers back into a closed position, roll out the turf, bring down the cages, and now you have a training space. So that becomes a very nice improvement to the options for West. And then for Central, as TJ mentioned, currently Central occupies the primary locker rooms in the building, and it becomes kind of a home locker situation for them. They don't really have an appropriate home base for that athletic training. With all the athletic fields that will be in place where the current grass field and bus lot are, we already have buildings that were attained through the land swap with the National Guard. There's a very large building just to the west of the tennis courts. It'll be a facility that's adjacent to the new turf field, to the tennis courts, to the softball field, to the baseball field, as well as to anything that's used for track and field. That would make sense then that we could adapt that into a training facility. It would also give us more than enough room to house storage of uniforms, equipment, and other items for the Central Athletics program. We've doctored up a little bit of a floor plan with a very simplistic approach. The building has a series of rooms around the perimeter with a 2-story open space in the very center. That space is the right size to get 2 batting cages in. There's a space up in the upper corner that would adapt itself well to become a training room. So that's where the trainer could have an ice machine, maybe ice bath. There would be a training office, but it just needs floor space that you can put a couple of beds in there. Our restrooms for boys and girls would be using the spot that's already occupied by bathrooms. We would just do some update and modifications so that we can meet ADA requirements and integrate a couple of showers into that facility. We provide a large changing room for boys athletics, a large changing room for girls athletics, and then the remainder of the spaces would be utilized for athletic storage. There is a second floor over a portion of this building. There's 2 different stairways that get up there. We would propose integrating just a platform lift to solve the accessibility issue of getting anybody with a disability to that second floor level. Once up at the second floor, down in the southeast corner, there is a large kind of conference room that would become a place to house all the high school athletic directors. So North, West, and Central athletic directors would have a home base when there's events at Brady Street Stadium. One of the great benefits is when you look out the window there, it gives you a direct sight line to the stadium. We might consider adding an additional window just to improve that visibility. There is a tree across the street that obscures the view, so maybe if that tree disappeared, it would be a straight shot into the football field and track. But that is a nice home base for all ADs. And then up in the northwest corner, there is a large meeting room that would be adapted as a spot that sports teams could review game film, have team meetings. So that would easily serve with very little adaptation needed for a team meeting room. Again, the additional spaces would be athletic storage, whether for central or for district storage items. This building has more than enough space. The proposal here is not to renovate and improve every space in this building, only the spaces that would be used, so that we're not overextending ourselves with the dollars that we need for the project. And so that is your Central, West, and North athletics.
All right. John, real quick, the golfers can utilize these spaces as well. You didn't really touch on that, but I know we talked about it. So, okay. Director Beck.
I got a couple questions. So what is that long, narrow building that's south of the Armory?
So the long, narrow building looks like 2-story brick is an old horse barn. It's currently used for storage. So it has a whole bunch of stored items in there. It is likely not an easily adaptable space without some investment at this point in time. I think the use of it for storage works well for items that don't need to be conditioned at this point.
So there's still a use for it. Like it doesn't need to be removed to add a little.
I wouldn't consider removing it. There may be other opportunities the district can consider.
Okay. So basically anything that could be outside, but just you don't want it rained on. Doesn't need to be temperature controlled. Okay. And then my other question, the ground around it, so there's some concrete, you know, to the north and the east there, that's, you know, kind of not in great shape. And I know that the tennis courts don't have a lot of space for people to actually watch games. What is the feasibility of sort of reconditioning some of that so it's more of a, maybe the access is on the west side of the building, and you can turn that space between the tennis courts and the building into more usable space for the tennis courts or something like that? You know, like viewing space or walking space?
I think any of that could be feasible. It's going to become a question of
Budget.
funds.
Yeah.
So probably the likely answer is to think about this little portion of the campus from a master plan standpoint and just beginning to allocate funds periodically over time to make those improvements. One thing to note is this entire parcel will become fenced. There's already fencing that surrounds the property in between the long building, the armory, which would give us the opportunity to remove some fencing between that building and the tennis courts, which could provide a space for people to put, you know, fold out chairs and things like that for spectating.
Okay. And then my last question was so the locker rooms in this building would be designated for Davenport Central. Is that correct? And like this would be their
This would become
practice
their
locker
practice,
rooms.
practice competition locker rooms.
So all the teams that normally practice at Brady and change in those.
They would come here. So any of our athletic events here, baseball, softball, track and field, likely golf, tennis.
It's
Okay.
home.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's their home.
Okay.
That does free up, as we've talked with the turf project, that then the south side of East 36 truly becomes everyone's in the district.
Okay.
Director Kleindro.
I can get this on. Would there be a time when the boys and the girls are in this facility at the same time? Okay, this sounds like a weird question, but like, do kids shower anymore? It concerns me that the boys' shower and restroom is very close to the girls. So we're going to guarantee there's supervision and monitoring, because that's a little too close.
That was the first question that we asked. Mr. Flynn walked through the building with the athletic director and kind of discussed that. Your first question: do kids shower anymore? No, they go home. But for they will have the ability to do so. Right. Those locker rooms, that space is a pretty big space. Yeah. I mean, that internal space is this big. Probably close to the size of this boardroom, and one locker room's over there and one locker room's over there. And so the majority of this space will be like an indoor hitting, football, you know. So we even discussed, if you want to get the mic, John, speak specifically to this, when we're doing cross country season, potentially using a different facility up there.
Yeah, I would think of these, I mean, they are locker rooms, but I would think of them more as changing spaces. We talked to the building athletic directors with that. The first question asked, like Superintendent Schneckloth said, was, are kids showering anymore? There is an alternative option just to the west of the softball diamond. There's a home that we own that serves as a concession stand and I guess locker room for our softball program presently, the central softball program. That building could also be used if we feel the need to separate boys from girls further.
Okay, thank you.
Director Barnes.
So when you met with the city, did you talk about vacating East 36th? Because this does create much more of a safety concern, I think, with that permanency.
We have asked that, and it is a hard no. So, in terms of coming across the street, right now, that's what they do every day when they go to football practice. They go across the street and come back. So tennis, they go across the street, they park over here and go across the street. So
Turf field will be over there too.
turf field, everything will be over there. So the crossing the street will be for track and
Football.
maybe for game days for football and game days for soccer. Anything to add, Mr. Flynn?
Was that all you had? Director Beck.
I have a follow-up to that because I know I've asked that question before. To mitigate concerns, first of all, there is not a lot of sidewalk on both sides. It's not evenly distributed. There's not a lot of lighting. At least it doesn't always feel that way. I may be thinking more closer to the parking lot that's by the current baseball field. But if the city, and I can't remember what their reasoning is, if the city refuses to vacate that area, and obviously building like a walkover is probably cost prohibitive, can we get one of those traffic lights where you push the button and it changes like we have in front of some of our elementary schools? Because to me, having a traffic light there, as well as maybe some speed humps, because people fly through there all the time.
There you go. I will write those things. Those
Okay.
are considerations.
I think that would help mitigate some of the concerns that I know a lot of us have with, even now, without a facility like that.
One of the things to note is we're doing some sidewalk improvement as part of the turf project, but it is not a lot. So it's just where we're doing some of the paving. We identified this location on the plan just at the north end of the stadium as a kind of a primary walk path because you get a lot of spectators will walk across there. That will actually get more so with football and track and soccer wanting to move back and forth across the street. So that likely would be one spot. And then somewhere in the vicinity of where the cursor is would be the second, because that will become aligned with the main entry to where baseball is, and a good portion of parking will be on the south side of the street. So potentially 2 speed humps, if possible, with a push to walk signal would be a good option.
That I do know how to use a microphone. And in the past, we have had for our middle school track meets, we've worked with the city. We put in to block 36th Street off. Not perfect, so I'm not going to sit here and say that nobody's ever never gone around the barricades. But there are other options I think that we could explore as well to secure that.
Director Poston.
What is the concern of the city as far as closing that off?
The amount of traffic the amount of utilization that road has it's pretty high.
And then also when you're where you've got your cursor, and then to the right of that, we've got those houses. I think we own most of those. So is there going to be the possibility, what I see, if you've got, say, a football game going on and you've got people practicing across the street, I think parking is going to become an issue. So is that area eligible for future parking lot?
Why, yes, we already received permission from the city to adapt all of those properties into future parking.
Okay.
We did that when we did the rezoning for the bus lot.
And is there any way, I know the bus lot is going to be much bigger than what we had. Will the entire area of that bus lot be used for buses?
So the division line, right where I'm drawing the cursor, everything to the east of that will house 93 buses. And to the left of that is all the bus driver and staff parking. So it all is on site.
I was just wondering if on game days and that there would be extra area where that could be used for temporary parking, but that doesn't look like would be the case.
Potentially, the one exception is you do have a fence around there with gates that you securitize just to keep people from damaging the investment in your buses.
Catalytic converters, man, are expensive. Director Beck.
One other question. I know parking is a huge issue, especially on game days, but for the safety of people crossing the street, particularly when it's dark, can we, I guess if we've got blockades, you can, but we make those no parking zones during, like on the curb there across from where the armory is and that people tend to park on the street there? Oh, so they just park there because they want to. Okay, never mind. I take that back. They'll do what they want, I guess.
Any other discussion? The biggest thing with not vacating the road, a lot of people come out of that old town and cut through, or like Director Potts, that's his cut through to get to Tyson's over there too. So anytime I take my son to get a haircut at Miss Amy's right over there, we always go out that way because you sit at that light at Davenport Avenue forever.
So last thing for consideration on this is that Dave Shovelin is already formulating a plan of what does it look like for our feeder teams and feeder systems to be organized and utilize these whenever they become available. And so that part is incredibly exciting to me, to have all of those programs that we talked about earlier with a potential space for their youth teams to come in and begin practice immediately.
Thanks for answering my question before I asked that. I was getting ready to ask that.
I felt it.
Is there anything else or any other information board members need? I imagine this will probably come before us to do at the next meeting. And this is out of funds that we already have out of the Save and Pebble, right?
Correct. So, and the budgeted amount that we're looking at for this project is right around $1.5 million. And this is out of our save dollars that we're currently utilizing. The bulk of those dollars will come with the renovation of that armory space. The other two will be to kind of freshen up north and then to build in the existing space at west.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, John. Thank you. All right. How many administrative reports you got for us tonight? At this time. Are there any board requests? All right. Board reflections. Director Beck, we'll start with you.
I'm incredibly excited to see all the changes that are happening, but especially the overview of what SMART is going to look like. I think it's really important that we're making that investment in those students, and I think it's I love that we get to see a video. I think that's a fun way to introduce that, but I'm excited about that project the most, I think, right now.
Thank you, Director Beck. Director Poston.
I think just overall, our entire long-range facility plan, we've got a lot of pieces in motion now, and I think this is just absolutely huge for the district.
Thank you, Director Poston. Director Hayes.
I too was intrigued with the long-range plan and the fact that Central will actually have a place to call home.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Director Barnes.
I want to reiterate the gratitude the superintendent paid to Davenport City for stepping up and providing resources to students who experience home insecurity. I think it's great to have we're not always as charitable and as excited about the city, but I think when they step up in this way, we ought to express thanks. The other thing, I really appreciated the open forum and Mrs. Stricondi's comments. We oftentimes, as a school board and a school district, ask for the support of our community. And it's disappointing to hear when someone from our community offers their support to the students in our school district and the district doesn't lean into that and accept that support, embrace that support, and collaborate with a volunteer who really has the best interests of our students in mind. And so that was disappointing to hear. I know that there are only so many hours in a day, but I'll share a reflection that last year when we, at my employer, offered to buy lunch for every school counselor in the district, we didn't have one school counselor from Davenport schools come to Augustana's campus. And so I just think when people are offering an opportunity to collaborate, given how much we ask, we need to be more responsive. So I really appreciated Mr. Condi's comments tonight.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Klein, or Vice President Klein-Jerome.
Not there. I think it's exciting when I think about 3 years ago, I did not expect that this would be where we are, the addition renovation of Sudlow, looking at SMART, the athletic facilities. We've come a long way from, struggling to get out from underneath the state to where we are today, making it a good district that kids should want to come to.
Thank you, Vice President Klein-Jerome. Superintendent Schneckloff.
I'm just incredibly honored to be a part of a moment in our history where they put the plaques on the inside of the walls based off of what happened today. And when I look at the plaques that are hanging inside of our walls and some of the leaders that have come before this school board, it's just an absolute honor to be even mentioned in that breath. And so I'm super excited about what's going to occur at Sudlow and the other phases. I think the big reflection for me is that this board is delivering on promises that have been made to the community and fulfilling them. These indoor spaces, the north from a middle school to a high school, and a home for Davenport Central that they can feel really good about. And so I'm incredibly proud of that, the work that this group of people have done.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloff. My first reflection is thank you to whoever used the microphones in this room and did not charge them. And thank you to Steve for getting us on gear with limited microphones and getting the job done so we can still be able to participate by Zoom. As a quick reminder, if you use the stuff, make sure it gets charged. I thought I only had to tell my kids that, but that's all right. It was an awesome meeting tonight. We had a lot of great discussion, and to see things coming together, we have a lot of moving parts, and it'll be awesome to see the puzzle completed someday. Obviously, by the time North and stuff gets done, I'll get to see that with my little guy, so it'll be cool. My kids are wondering why they never got that stuff when they were in school, but hey, it's happening now, after all these years. So it's very awesome stuff that we are doing. I personally want to thank the superintendent for educating him on the construction process so he's able to answer the hard-hitting questions and deal with me on various phone calls. So I appreciate that. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.